Welcome to Season 2, Episode number 5 of the Growing Farms Podcast with your hosts, Troy Bishop, the Grass Whisperer, and me, John Suscovich. On today's episode, Troy and I ask the question, what keeps you motivated? Stay tuned to the end of the episode for some current news of some recent events and some of my honest opinions and thoughts on working with Troy. Now, here's the show.
So you're not motivated, John?
Troy,
no.
We're on to a new episode of the Growing Farms Podcast, and I have a question for you.
No, I have a question for you.
All right, go ahead. Let's start it.
You're not motivated?
I'm motivated. I'm into it.
How come you're asking me about my motivation? Who's motivating who?
Nobody has heard the question yet, Troy.
Oh, okay.
And that's what keeps you motivated? What keeps you going? What keeps you jazzed? We covered what keeps you up at night. We covered some heavy topics in the last couple episodes. I want to know what puts that twinkle in your eye that I see on the other side of Skype here. Huh? Little glow, little shimmer, little glitter.
What does keep you motivated? I like money.
Well, there's that. Money's a tool, and I know that as a tool, it is not a sole focus of yours. So I call BS. I call BS. Yeah, well, money is a great motivator, but money is a catalyst to provide other things in your life. You can say that money motivates you because it will allow you to have more camping days, right? So I want to.
Analyzing me again.
Yes, I am. That is weird. And now the growing therapy sessions with John Suscovich and Troy Bishop.
Jeez,
it's not psychoanalyzing you. I know that you just want to go camping, and if you want to say that as an answer, and that money is a tool to get you there, so you're motivated to create more monetizations in your life.
Monetization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But call a spade a spade. Camping is a motivation. Being with Hadley is a motivation. That's what makes you happy. Sitting here on a podcast on Skype talking to me in your office, it may be enjoyable. This doesn't keep you motivated.
No, it actually does, because then I can banter with you. I feel young again. I want to take you on, you punk, fall fry, youngin. Yeah.
greenhorn.
Yeah, the motivation, I think it's a sort of a personal journey. As you accomplish things, you want to accomplish more. Am I going to use the word? The L word? Have you heard about this word?
Love stuff?
No.
Like stuff?
What love? What? No.
Lubricate? What is what L word?
Legacy.
Oh.
Yeah.
To us and our posterity. Go on.
Is there a legacy you want to leave? And what would that legacy be? Like, your grandkids are sitting around the campfire going, Pop wrote a funny story about me sliding the other day, or I remember back when, I don't know, he made me load hay that I didn't want to load, or just what is the legacy that you want to leave? It
goes back to one of our previous episodes for what keeps you up at night, Troy, and the fear of the unknown in the future with your legacy. They say that you die twice. The first time when they bury you in the ground, and then the last time is the last time somebody mentions your name.
Oh, that's deep, John. Deep,
right? So you can live on through the legacy that you leave, and stress about on a day-to-day basis whether or not you are bolstering that legacy or you're hindering its existence that's going to live on past your final days there.
I feel like my motivation tends to be trying not to be forgettable, and maybe that's too selfish.
Sorry to be selfish.
But that's part of the motivation is I want to leave obviously I want to leave a better farm than when I got it. Yes, I'd like to have financial resources. Yes, I would love to be able to camp more and have all this great life balance. And then at the end, maybe on top of all that is a legacy that, we all got our faults, but maybe there was a greater good, maybe because I helped manage the cemetery and get the grass cut and work with families, and maybe because we provide some meat to the American Legion post, that goes to veterans, and just your overall legacy. And then, was I a good person? Did my wife love me? My kids like me, love me? And that's probably pretty good motivation. But unfortunately, it always starts with that, the money. Like, the money is the tool, and I wish the money wasn't. But
yeah,
it seems to, like I said, keeps you up at night, because you still got to pay your taxes. You still got to, get to a certain place, and it still takes time and money. So
two things.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bore you there with your.
All right, I yawned because I was so captivated that I forgot to breathe, and yawning.
It's almost 9:00. You whippersnapper.
I'm getting old there, sir.
So your motivation would be sort of different because you're just a punk.
No. Shots fired. Take it easy, old man. My motivation has for a long time been what I learned when I was in the Boy Scouts camping. Every time we were
in the Boy Scouts?
Yes, sir. I was in the Boy Scouts.
Boy, that's a little scary.
Yeah. Why? That's why I tie knots great around the farm, and nobody else ties knots great.
Right.
I'm like, look at this nonsense. That's not a bowline. It's garbage. That's the age-old rule. Don't know the knot, tie it a lot. Right? So,
man, you are on fire.
Yeah, coming out of the gate hot today. What I learned in the Boy Scouts, and has been one of those things that sticks with you. Like, you taught me to ask why. Boy Scouts taught me, when you go camping, you leave the site better than when you found it. Right? No garbage left behind. You improve things. You leave no impact. Do better. Always be better. No matter what you're trying to do. If you go in and you say, all right, this is the status quo, how can I be better than the status quo? How can I leave things better? And especially now being a father and, getting up in years, being a father and seeing what it comes down to legacy as well. Like, I want my kids to know that I tried as hard as I could to make things better while I had time here.
Nice.
And in doing things better, that's selfish. Because I want a better life for me. I'm going to actively work to make my life awesome, because I have one. It ends eventually, and then who knows what happens. And then the life and the impact that I can have on those others around me and my community, not just my family, but the people who visit the farm, are related to the farm, are directly involved with the farm and work here, the people whose spouses and partners of the people who work here. Like, we have a community going on, and it is my responsibility, it is my motivation to make sure that everybody has what they need to move forward in a way that makes them happy, and that we're all working towards a common goal to make our business thrive, because it is a monetary driver to provide us with the tools that will bring us some of the happiness that we have elsewhere in life. But money is not the sole driver, and that if you have to do something that you are unhappy with at work or in life to get money, you ask that question why, which is what you taught me, to say, why am I doing this? Is it in line with how I feel and what my ideals are? Does it align with what our community has accepted as deemed acceptable? And as if is that same money am I gonna have to invest more to recoup the damage that I did to get that money? So it's the acquisition of resources through positive means.
So I got another another couple of items.
You can have a lot of things that motivate you, Troy. That's a good thing. I like that.
Well, I wrote it down because I forgot. I'm old. I forget things. So I wrote down, fill the shoes of my ancestors.
Ooh.
So there is an ancestral base here of 6 generations, and so the generations before me were in the community. They didn't do the things that I did exactly. They were really nice people, like salt of the earth, nice people. I won't be known quite like that.
You're not a nice guy.
Yeah, I'm a little cantankerous, let's say. I'm a little Andy Rooney-ish. So maybe a little curmudgeon-like. So you're trying to, in that family, you're going to make your own mark, but there is definitely a sort of a pressure to fill that ancestor role. And, who knows what's going to happen in the future.
Well, for me with Farm Marketing Solutions, just because I want to make it about me again.
Yeah,
I think that
I want to tell you
that applies not just in your immediate familial sense, but with Farm Marketing Solutions, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. Like, I wouldn't have sold a chicken tractor book and had any topic of conversation with Pasture Poultry if it wasn't for Joel Salatin. And like, I have the motivation to do well at what I'm doing here and trying to disseminate information and make sure that my stuff is fact-based as much as possible. And when it is clearly opinion, and maybe a little looser around the facts, I try to highlight that because it was set up by somebody else. I got into the farmer's market because other people had started it before me. I got into pasture poultry because somebody had started it before me. And it is my generation's turn to take that torch and run with it and inspire and educate the next generation of farmers. That's our mission statement here at Farm Marketing Solutions, that Joel and the other farmers who have been publicized, and the countless farmers who have been working at the profession, who have trained apprentices, have brought in interns, have had employees, have got other people in agriculture, who are the unsung heroes of making sure that we have any farmers still today, that I'm not doing them a disservice with the information that I provide, and I'm constantly motivated to do better, to raise my production quality, to make sure that I'm not spreading misinformation about growing practices or lifestyle, so that the people who take up ag after me or with listening to this information aren't setting off on the wrong foot because I've said something or misstepped in some way. And that's a huge driver. Like, I obsess over that.
Yeah, I know you do. Data driven.
I try. I try.
So I got a question for you. So when you get knocked down, buddy, what is the motivation to pick you up? That picks you up, that says, when you're, I don't know, you're getting bit up by deer flies and somebody really rained on your parade and you're like having one of them days and you got to pick yourself up of your own volition. What do you use as the tool for motivation? And then I'll tell you what mine is.
Whether you are a religious person or not, there is a concept of free will. That in religion, God gave us free will to make our own choices and follow his path. But at the end of the day, it is down to us to make that decision. If you're an atheist and you don't believe in religion at all, there's still the free will to make the decision that you're going to move forward in the choice that you made that day to affect your lifestyle. And when I got into farming, I got into farming very intentionally and very purposefully. And when I am at the, you have your high highs and your low lows of entrepreneurship. When I'm at my low lows, I remember that I chose this. This is a choice. At any time, I have job offers on the table, for better or worse, in several different industries. I meet people and they're like, dude, if you ever need to get out of this, or if this ever goes under or whatever, come here, come there. And I'm like, oh, that's very nice. And maybe it's all baloney, right? Maybe I'm just inflating my own ego there. But I have had, during my worst periods in the last 7 years of agriculture, opportunities to bail and leave this, and I will stay with this as long as I am humanly capable of doing it, because I truly believe in the work that we're doing here at the Farm Brewery, the work that we're doing in farm marketing solutions, and that I chose this lifestyle. I chose to occasionally be under a machine and get covered in oil, or to be out in a 110-degree day, baking in the sun, spraying the chickens down with cool water so that they don't overheat and die. Chose to stay late on a weekend night and treat our public water system because we had some test that went weird and we had to do something with it. And I just don't get to kiss my daughter goodnight because I'm out working again. I put in the extra hours, I put in the extra time, I go through the low lows so that I can achieve the high highs, because over the long term, the thing that I hope to achieve in my lifetime is a positive impact on our food system. And it is my choice to be here. And if you're going to get too upset about something that goes wrong, well, then choose to do something else, because we all have free will. And I'm going to be here. I'm going to do a good job. It's tough right now, but tomorrow might get easier.
Whoa.
You asked, and here it is. That's it.
That's not kind of where I was thinking you were heading. So, that's interesting, because my motivation to get up every time comes kind of like the football. I'm not a baseball player, or I'm not a track runner. I play football.
Okay.
So the football, you get knocked down and you get back up, and you get knocked down, you get back up, and you're going to have like your Smash day. Mouth
song.
Oh yeah. The motivation is you will not. My internal clock says you will not outwork me. You will not out whatever, because I'll have my day. I may not get it today. So I use that motivation of like almost sticking it to the man motivation. Like, you got me. You think you got me? You got me, son. I'm getting back up.
This is just a learning moment for me.
Yeah. It feels like something out of a movie, but like that's how I get motivated. Like, tell me I can't do anything. Tell me I can't do it.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to shove it down your throat.
Yeah.
Right. Don't ever tell me what I can't do.
I absolutely go crazy if you tell me I can't do something. Or you question my integrity, or integrity to do something, or make an offhanded comment. I'm coming all guns.
Coming in hot.
Yeah. So I almost use the metaphors of my own free will to pick myself up, because I don't know any other reason. Like, why don't you just stay down? Because there's a lot of fight in the dog, and I'm a dog. I'm gonna get up every time. That's probably why I probably wouldn't be good at fighting. Just keep getting up until I get killed.
Well, that's trained jujitsu. It's like you get knocked down, you get up again, and then you keep fighting.
Oh yeah.
Like, we don't train to just sit on the mat. You train to get knocked down, to get thrown, to get put on your backside. And then you get up and you figure out, Troy teaches you to ask why. Why did I get put on my face? And try not to do that again. We also train chaos, which is great. It's one of the things that I like about training martial arts. And in my school, towards the end of certain classes, you'll have one guy with 3 guys attacking. And you're up against the wall and there's 2 or 3 people attacking you. You run drills. There's a certain amount of minutes that you do this. And you train just pure chaos, because you get to a point where your mind shuts off and you act by reflex. Then you're blocking, you're counter striking, and you're looking for a way to stack the guys up so you're only really facing off one guy because the other guy's stuck behind the second guy. And you do the same in business, where I'm in the gym and I train chaos so that when things go crazy, I'm in control and I calm down and I get to a state where I can think. Even though if I'm getting hit, I know I can reflect those hits and then move forward and get out of that situation. You get into farming and you got aphids attacking the hops, and then the chickens are overheating and the pigs are starting to figure out how to get out of their fence. And then you have, that's the weekend that the food magazine shows up and you have people on the farm and you try to feed the pigs and the bucket fell off the tractor because you never put the pins down, and there's just chaos and things go wrong all the time. They're going wrong right now, and things that I can't talk about. But the more you train in that, the more you get used to it, the more you get down, you find that motivation to say, this is okay. I've been here before. I can get up again. It's my choice to be here. And if I can't handle this, then I need to do something else. But because I chose to be here, I'm going to triage. I'm going to stay in control. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to take a step back and pause and ask why all this is happening. Why, which one is the red flag, which one's the orange flag, which one's the yellow flag. And I'm going to attack each problem. I'm going to get it done because that's what I do. That's what I'm here for. That's what I get paid for. That's my profession, is I get you done.
And when I get knocked down,
I swore on the podcast. I got to blur that out now.
Yeah.
Swear. I don't even know if that's a swear, but
it's not really.
We keep it rated G here on the Growing Focus podcast.
You could just say poop or something. Yeah, when I get to that point, if I can't somehow conquer, my brother was real good at, he could actually probably out finesse people, even on the football field. He just chose to go through you. His finesse was, I could show you a few moves, but it's more fun just to go right through you or over you or whatever. And some of that situation works. And now that I'm a little bit older, finding ways around stuff when, you could go through, you could go over, you could try to stick it to the man or, use whatever. But a lot of times that reflex actually is not going to get you where you need to be. So you got to come up with a different strategy of, okay, I see you think I'm going to go through you, and then I'm going to do the,
I'm going to juke left.
I'm going to juke. And you didn't see it coming because you thought I was the go through guy. So, my, with the way farming's going now, though, question is, there's a lot of people that are hurting now because it's going to be March and there's going to be bills and prices are low. So when do you quit? When do you admit I just can't get up? When that day came to me when I sold my dairy cows, when I couldn't financially, and that played into my emotion because you can't provide for your family and and you have to quit. That is probably the most demoralizing, at least for me, was one of the most demoralizing activities I ever had or hope to ever have in my life. And people are going through that every week now. So how do you cope with not getting up? You got a big answer for me there, psychiatrist John?
I hope that nobody is assuming that I fancy myself any kind of a psychoanalyst. It's not.
Have you been down? Probably you shouldn't have. You're young. So you wouldn't know that. Really.
I saw a psychologist or a psychiatrist when my parents were divorced when I was in high school. I mean, if that's what you're asking, but that had no effect on. I didn't go to a shrink once and then think like I can do this for other people. That's baloney. That's not in any stretch of the imagination where I'm coming from. All I have is the experiences that I've had throughout my life, and then my own deep dives into my own personal emotions. I won't take credit for going to any college courses or going through any certifications. If what I says makes sense to you, take it and run with it and find out and test it. If what I say doesn't make sense to you or you think it's psychobabble, then that's the way you're going to perceive it. There's 7 billion people in the world. What I say as my strict opinion is going to resonate with some of them, and that's what we're here to do. How I would approach, there's a lot of discussion in the Growing Farmers podcast and Farm Marketing Solutions on the online homesteading and farming communities about how to start a farm. But there's not a lot of discussion on how to end a farm. And part of your how to start a farm planning should be how to end a farm planning. Before you get so far underwater that a dramatic ending is starting to look good to you, where you may end it prematurely. The suicide rates are really high among people in agriculture. It's like them and veterans are the two highest in the U.S. Before it reaches that point, knowing when to call it quits, having some kind of indicator that if you say, if my mortgage payments get this far gone, if the farm gets this far gone, before I lose my family, before I lose my life, before I lose whatever it may be, that may be your indicators for where it's time to pull out. There is life outside of this. Farming is just a profession. People, especially where I get from my demographic, my age right now, I'm technically a millennial at 34 years old in 2019. This is my second career. Farming for me, there are farmers who don't know anything else. There are people who are getting into farming that think that they're going to get into this and they're not going to know anything else. There is life outside of any other thing that you could possibly do. There's life outside of farming, and what we can't lose is you and your knowledge and your heart. And that you stick with it. And if it's going poorly enough and it's going to go under, sell off your assets, try to find another life. And that's easier said than done from the vantage point of a podcast where things are going well for me and things might be going difficult for somebody else. But there is no justification in ending things poorly if you plan for an ending. So if you plan to start your farm, you plan to end your farm, so that when you see that ending coming, you say, oh, this was an inevitability based off of these things that went wrong. 80% of small businesses fail in the first year or two. 99% of them fail in the first 5 years. It is amazing when a small business gets past the 5-year mark. There's really something there. And so if you fail, like in Silicon Valley, like failing is a thing that you wear as a badge of honor. Like I tried to create $1 billion company and I failed, and people are like, oh, you failed at this, but look at all the knowledge that you gained. I'm going to give you another $2 million in VC funding. And like, there's a whole culture around failure that it's okay, because the faster you fail at things, the more you're going to learn, the better you're going to become at how to figure it out. And where you go next is up to you and the mindset that you have. And I would say that, the piece of advice to take away from this is you planned how to start a farm, planned how to fail at a farm, and you'll know when you're failing and you know when you're succeeding based off of how far or how close you are to that benchmark. Does that make sense?
It does. No, it does, because we had that plan. We had a certain threshold.
Yeah.
Because my dad's an accountant, and we, tracked some things, and I was young then, so we were successful in dissolving the cow herd, and we were able to start a different life and it took a lot of twists and turns, not all good, not all bad. You're right. We learned a lot of things. So looking back, that was a great plan. And part of my life experience sort of is, I am entrenched in my agricultural roots of dairy, livestock, and the real backstories of the land. And what pisses me off the most is like people, whoever they are, saying, yeah, it's still good. You should be more optimistic about the dairy industry, or, whatever. And meanwhile, I know countless farms.
There's very few people optimistic about dairy industry right now.
Well, I'm just saying that they're glossing over the real tragedies of, again, most of this is lifelong. They had a plan, then they were optimistic because the prices came back, and then the weather, and there's a lot of the prices were not in control of those. We're price takers, not makers. And you get entrenched. You inherit, again, 4 or 5 generations. So it's really difficult to pinpoint it, other than let's not gloss over it either. But you're right, having a plan is good. But what do we do now when a lot of folks had a plan and they've eaten all their equity up? I guess that gets into our
and your back's against the wall.
We had this. Remember, we had this framework of is this all there is? Right? When I can't believe when I heard Fred Provenza talk at a grazing conference. It was just an evening session, and he was talking about his depression and all the twists and turns of cancer and everything else, and he uttered the words, and I was going, oh my God, I can't believe that's me. He's saying the words, and I'm going, yeah, is that all there is? So again, that getting up, like after you've said the words to yourself internally and you just keep saying them for like the car ride home.
Yeah.
How that set a track, over the last couple of years of almost keep asking yourself that, just to remind yourself, there's more camping days. There's got to be more.
And that's
I'm not sure.
That's what's got me up
talking about it much.
When it's gotten hard, and you get down a negative mindset, and you start to see doomsday everywhere, where this is never going to go right and that's never going to go right, and it's just you're negative. You're there. Your brain has released the chemicals, and you're in the slump. Eating something, going to sleep, taking a shower, waking up in the next morning, looking at things with fresh eyes, realizing that One of the things that helps me through when I get into the low points is the seasonality of where I live. It's not the same 12 months a year. It's really hard in the summer. It's great in the fall. It can get really dreary and thin in the winter. And then spring, you're like, yes, let's get after it, trying it again. There's a lot of mud, but whatever, and you're like, you pull the tractor out of the mud a couple times and you get into the summer and you're back at it again. And you go through this cycle, and you go through that cycle enough times where there are things that you're like, is this all there is? Am I going to be going through this cycle of highs and lows again in life? And at the same time, you're like, well, yeah, it's going to be a little harder here, a little leaner there. And I'm going to make it so that the harder times are a little less hard and the leaner times are a little less lean. And, you do that through season extension practices and diversifying your income streams and getting jobs elsewhere, or whatever you have to do as a scrappy, resourceful human being to make it work. The people who are listening to the podcast are the kind of people who get stuff done, and they're going to figure it out. And I have faith in that. And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me sitting behind the microphone, hitting the record button, to have these conversations with you, to share with people. Is because our audience are the kind of people that get stuff done, Troy. And that's what keeps me motivated, is to do good by them so that they can do good by their families and their communities.
That's why we're all here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Get it. And scene. And that's it for this episode of the Growing Farms Podcast. Now, I promised you some current events, some truths about working with Troy, and I've got a story for you guys. Now, Troy and I are collaborating on a couple of projects. We not only have the podcast here, but we're shooting some more and more up-to-date video for the YouTube channel on how to use grazing charts, how to manage your pasture rotations, how to raise cattle. My focus has been on chickens. Troy is an expert in management intensive grazing for cattle, and we meet together on pigs. So as a project that we were working on, and I'll spare you the details to hope for some sort of brevity here, working on a video project that would have given me a couple weeks of content on YouTube, would have given us both a little bit of income, which is always nice, and just a chance to get together and have a pleasant visit. Now, Troy woke up crazy early in the morning and drove the 4 hours that it takes to get from his house to my house. We're not next door neighbors. We are, in fact, close enough to be, approachable, but far enough where it's a haul to get one place or another. So Troy woke up and started driving. I woke up and started getting ready for the day, assembling camera gear, and I needed to take a shower and be, camera ready. So in the shower, I noticed a tick bite with a ring around it in a very unfortunate location. I'll spare you the details, but it's a location you would not find unless you were taking a shower. We'll just put it that way. And I had a bit of a freak out moment. I had been going through a bunch of stuff lately, and I've had some stress in my day-to-day life. And I think this was the straw or the tick that broke the camel's back. I called in some reinforcements, and not Troy, but Kate, my wife, came in to assess the situation and help me pull the tick out. In the attempt to remove the tick, a good part of its body was left inside of my body, and I freaked out because last year I had Lyme disease. And it just knocked me out. I'm a month away from having another child. I have a lot going on in my day job, and I freaked out at the idea of getting Lyme disease and being knocked out and being on antibiotics just as all these things were kicking off. I mean, as this podcast goes live, next week I get baby chicks. The week after that, I get 20,000 bees. And the weeks after that, I get a child. I go to a bachelor's party in New Orleans for my brother. And the list goes on from there. Let's just say my to-do list is stacking up. So Troy, having driven 4 hours here, having assessed the situation, Kate and Mabel had an obligation that they had to go to with our one family car Troy then got in his truck, drove me to a walk-in clinic where I had to pay $150 to have somebody examine my leg and prescribe doxycycline to combat the inevitable Lyme's disease that was going to invade my body. Now, I got home and took that medication. Scott, who is my partner at Farm Marketing Solutions, was also up for the weekend for this project. And Scott, Troy, and I went out to lunch because at this point in the day, we had wasted so much time. We were all hungry and we needed to eat. I needed to get some food in my stomach to help me with this medication. Now, the medication kicked in once we got to the restaurant, and we had some appetizers. And let's just say, in a very public setting, the appetizers did not last long inside of my body, and I was not in a good place. So we finished up our meal. I sat there sweating and staring at my uneaten food with no appetite and a healthy dose of nausea. We went back to my house. Troy then bid us a fond farewell, gave me a wonderful present of some ancient bee-raising books, and then drove the 4 hours home again, having done nothing but take care of a friend in Connecticut, a friend in need. And there's a weird common theme that whenever Troy and I are slated to get together, at least in Connecticut, something goes awry, something breaks, I get sick. It's just like, I'm like, oh, Troy's coming over, maybe I'll get sick now. And the amazing thing about Troy is that he never flinches. And maybe that comes from 30 plus years of farming. Maybe he's just that good of a guy. But no matter what happens, as sick as I get, I'm inspired and I want to get all this stuff done, and we have a plan and we have very little room to move in our schedules, Troy will step up and take care of the situation, take charge, problem solve, and just get stuff done. And I'm telling you this story because behind the scenes of me publishing 5 videos a week on YouTube and having the podcast on a week-to-week basis and doing several seasons throughout the year and doing all these things do go wrong. And it is amazing that I have been able to keep relatively calm this year and good and collected. And in a moment where I was less than calm and kind of inconsolable at the freak out of having Lyme's disease again, with all this stuff on my plate coming forward, Troy stepped in and was the ultimate friend, took care of me, and selflessly just axed his day completely to once again help a friend in need. And I just want to say, I love you, man. I'm glad you're a part of the podcast. I know you're listening right now because you listen to the shows over for whatever reason that you want to hear our voices again. And I couldn't do this without you. And the content that we've created so far, season 2 especially, has been just dynamite. And when I feel overwhelmed, when I feel crazy, I listen back to these shows and these conversations that I have with Troy, and I still learn from the stuff that we say to each other, the conversations that we have. I welled up listening and editing to this episode just because I got to think about how good of a friend Troy is, how much this information that we're putting out into the world really means to the both of us, and how much you as an audience participating in it means to me personally, and I know it makes a difference in Troy's life. So thank you for taking the time to listen in today. Thank you for being a part of our lives. These are conversations that Troy and I have privately and have had privately for years, and now we're just turning on a microphone so that, the times that I don't have a tick bite in my leg, or I don't have Campylobacter, or my well hasn't taken a dump and I'm out in a snowstorm doing work. I've got stories and stories that you guys don't even know about. The fact that you're here, he's here, and I'm here through all of this, it is the most honest, genuine thing that I can put out into the world right now. It's not a 3 to 5 minute YouTube video. It is a longer form content where we really get to explore a topic. And for me, that personally has been just very valuable and a great exercise, and kind of sharing this and expressing this with everybody. So now I cut back into my my script that I've written out for the end of the episode, and I just want to thank Troy again for helping me put this together. And if you want to follow along, you can subscribe wherever you catch podcasts, or go to farmmarketingsolutions.com. There's a big button on the homepage that will take you exactly where you need to go. We have the whole podcast lined up for you, all the episodes. It's easy to find, easy to navigate. We tried to make it as simple as possible for you guys to find this information and hopefully help your day to day as well. And of course, if you want to support our efforts here, there are a couple of ways. Head on over to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. Head on over to farmmarketingsolutions.com and buy yourself something nice, or buy something for a friend, or just simply tell a friend that you liked a piece of content that you heard here. For now, I hope you have a great week, and we'll be in your ears on the next episode next Thursday. It's the last episode of this season, where Troy and I talk about a mental health check-in. We take a mental health check-in and we share our coping mechanisms for the harsh reality of what it is to be a human being. And perhaps we share a little too much. Thanks for taking the time to listen, and until next time, I will see you out in the field.